Welcome back, Stasa23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and this is going to be a pretty short video, mainly because I've already done a review on one of these before, and this right here is the North Arms Knives Skaha version 2, and it was pretty nice to see they got a lot of the reviewers' requests and people's comments, concerns, and they fixed them and came out with the version 2. The one I had was a version 1. I'll try to link back to that video so you can go see what I thought about that one. But let's kind of dive into it and see what changes they made and some things that I wish they would have done. So right off the bat, whenever I open it up, I noticed that they extended the sharpening choil. So that's very nice. Very nicely done. You won't have any recurve action going on back here with that sharpening choil. Also, I did not like the pocket clip that came on the first one. So they changed it to a nice Spyderco style wire clip. I like this a lot. This is a much more robust version of that than the Spyderco's wire clip. It's very thick, as you can see. Nice springy action to it. Also in hand, whenever the version 1, when I would squeeze on here, I could tell just the inside edges of the G10. It's hard to see where they had some 90-degree edges, so it's pretty sharp feeling in hand. It feels like they knocked this off. They might have put a small chamfer. You can kind of see that right there. They put a small chamfer in the inside, so no sharp spots right there to speak of. Oh, and I didn't say this before, but this knife was sent to me by my buddy Slicey Dicey. Somebody had sent it to him to check out, and they said that he could send it on to me as well to check out. So super awesome. Whenever I find out who the guy is that sent this to him, I will link it down below in the description. Let's see. So I like how they were responsive to people's complaints, and they jumped on it and made those changes. This is a very, very well executed knife. They, instead of making 15 different models, they got this folding knife, and they have a fixed blade, and they really dialed it in to perfection. This is a machine knife, and they were showing their machine skills to a T. It's just nice to see when a company make sure they get it right before they make anything else. You have so many companies that are just banging out all kinds of different designs, and a lot of them have subpar QC. Now, why not, get your quality control dialed in, fix all the changes, kind of like Spyderco does with their continuous quality control or whatever, where they're constantly updating models. Look at like the Delicas on Model 4, the paramilitaries on the second one. When they see a glaring problem with a good model, they fix it. And I really wish some of these companies out there would do that instead of, putting 58 new models out a year. Why not put 3 or 4 or 5 really good knives? I know I'd be more compelled, and I would be talking about them more if that's what they did. But it just doesn't happen. They want to try to get the next best thing, and it's very overwhelming right now in the knife community. Even though it's a good thing to have options, it gets very clouded when you have too many options. But I'm going to talk about a few things that still I'm not super keen on. But these are just my opinions. It's still a great knife. First, I'm not huge on the aesthetics of this knife. I don't think it's the best looking knife, but that's my opinion. And all my knives, I don't love all the way they look, so that's not a deal breaker by no means. It's just plain to me, but it's plain done very right. Another thing, and this is probably not going to affect 90% of y'all, but my hands are beat up, and the jimping, let's see if I can get the focus. The jimping on this flipper tab, I notice it's a little harsh for my fingers. After flipping it for a while, I start to notice it, and it's mainly because it's a right and something that just bugs me. But they were able to get this excellent action because they have a flat face detent in there, which gives you a nice pop whenever it releases, but then it glides over that steel because you have more surface area touching that steel. So that allows them to make a nice snappy detent without having super strong lock bar tension. And the lock bar tension on this guy is excellent, very, very light, but still locks up solid. I'm not going to do anything else besides this, but no play up or down, left or right, rock solid. These knobs are super smooth. I mean, just look, drop shut. And the crazy thing is this blade's super thin, so to have a drop shut blade is rather remarkable. Another thing for me that I noticed whenever I'm gripping this knife really, really tight, and I see this a lot, especially with liner locks, and you got the G10 scales. I don't know if I can show this that well. Let's see if I can. My camera does not want to focus today. But this area right here gets rather thin because of that lock bar. And when I'm squeezing down on here, this is rather sharp. I guess the only thing they could have done is maybe put a little light chamfer, but that's really thin as it is, so I don't know if that would have messed the integrity up of the G10, but I see that all the time. Very, very sharp. And it only feels bad whenever I'm in the hammer grip and I'm really squeezing down hard. Other than that, everyday, day-to-day task, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. Another thing, they take a lot of attention to detail on every aspect of this knife, but the edge bevel is not consistent. You can see the size of the main bevel right here, then flip it over here and you have a pretty wide bevel. And I'm pretty sure this knife hasn't been sharpened by the original owner. If I find out different, I'll let you know. But you got a wide bevel here, and you got a small bevel here. Not a huge problem, especially, I know it's not something that's a huge problem for me, not a deal breaker, because I can always put it on my Wicked Edge and fix that, which I would have done anyway. Also, and I noticed on the other one, this tip is super fragile. Now it's not, this is a slicer, so that's really just an aesthetic thing. It just looks a little funny, but just something to note. If you're planning on prying stuff out, this is definitely not the knife for you. And that's not why I would buy this knife in the first place. Last thing, and this is just an aesthetic thing. Those barrel spacers look like they were taken off of a gas station knife. But in that same thing, I will say, however, they are generic, but I would much rather see the generic pins and them spend the extra money on the QC of this knife, making everything else great on this knife. That's just, this is already a plain looking knife, so the plain barrel spacers, that's just an aesthetic thing. Overall, this is an excellent knife. If you are interested in this knife, you need to get in on their books. They do small batches, and I know the wait time's pretty long, especially after the media hype on this knife. I think Nick Shabazz is the one that got this knife to take off really, really, really quick. So y'all can thank him if y'all want to get this knife, or you're trying, or y'all waiting. But it was thanks to him, I think, that a lot of the changes were made. So hats off to Mr. Shabazz. One thing else I noticed on this knife, I don't know if it's common on all the version 2s with this clip, and it's going to be hard to even show it, but I wear thin clothing, and I was scared to carry this around because the clip doesn't touch the G10 by just a hair. I can't even show it. Let's see, that way you can see it right there. Just barely not touching the G10, which would be an easy fix. You could turn the clip around and bend it just a hair. But I noticed that retention wasn't good in my thin pocket, so I didn't carry this guy at all. So, like I said, this was just an update from the version 1 that I reviewed. If If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. If you have the version 2, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this jimping back here. Let me know if this is sharp at all for you and what you think about them barrel spacers. Also, does your clip touch the G10? You know, the original owner could have sprung out a little bit. I don't know. All right, guys and girls. Hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful day. Make sure to smash that like button, share it to all your friends and family and your social networks. If you like my videos in general, hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, hit that bell notification because I'm slowly creeping up on 2,000 subscribers. Or maybe this video might have come out later and I might have already hit it. But either way, you don't want to miss a thing. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.